будет.
Hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Oh,
Good morning, everybody. Всем здравствуйте. Если на английском не поймете, то надо вообще взять эти самые. Они и по-русски не понимают, видимо. Selma, we asked students to make microphones, phones, because they were so relaxed.
Yeah, the students usual.
Yeah.
Сидите все там сейчас.
Okay.
I propose Serbian as a variant. Ну, у нас рабочие языки русский, английский. Доброе утро. Мы продолжаем работу конференции «Виртуальная археология», и начинается день с лекции, которую прочитает Сельма Ризович. Сельма участвовала даже в первой конференции «Виртуальная археология», и как профессор университета Сараева она познакомит вас с цифровыми технологиями для предоставления и сохранения культурного наследия. И я попрошу студентов внимательно слушать и задавать вопросы обязательно. Привыкайте задавать вопросы докладчику. Это кажется, что это делать неудобно, неловко, но, пожалуйста, делайте это. Нас в Zoom сидим 10, в аудитории 12, у нас прекрасное количество, вполне себе такое, традиционное, обычное для виртуальной археологии. У нас так это было и когда мы работали в реальном пространстве, а не только в смешанном формате. Так что, пожалуйста, не стесняйтесь. Сельма, я прошу вас, переключайтесь.
Thank you very much, Daria. I hope that you hear me very well. And I hope that you will hear the sound because I will play many videos as we who are in visual arts believe that the picture speaks better than 1,000 words. So now I will share my screen and we can start. So my name is Selma Rizic and I'm coming from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering in University of Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. You had the opportunity to hear from us yesterday when my colleague Bojan and I presented a paper about virtual reality video. So I will not speak the same as I did yesterday about the Sarajevo Graphics Group laboratory. I will just briefly say that this laboratory has been established in 2004, and we have been working since that time on a virtual reconstruction of cultural heritage. I will say a few words about me. My background is computer science. I graduated, defended my master's and my PhD at the University of Sarajevo. And I have been working for many years, for 26 years at the Bosnian Radio Television as the chief of the broadcast design department, as a broadcast designer. So in my profession, I put together the technical science and arts. And I believe that this is the best way to present also cultural heritage using digital technologies, because engineers only or archaeologists and historians only cannot make these projects in such a good way as it can be done by an interdisciplinary team where we include the film professionals, visual artists, and writers, music authors, and so on. And you will see from the videos that I will play that actually these projects are very multidisciplinary, and that the only way to achieve good quality is to engage the best professionals from every field. Our first project was completed in 2005. And actually, after the war, we were in a very poor state because Sarajevo was under the siege for 3.5 years, and all of our facilities at the faculty were destroyed. So somehow after the war, we started from scratch, and I was engaged to teach computer graphics in 1998. But then we really didn't have any labs, any equipment. And by chance, I went to a conference in Austria in 2002, and I met there Professor Alan Chalmers, that may be known to some of you. He is one of the leaders in computer graphics field, and he was the vice president of SIGGRAPH conference, the most important conference in our field. And he got interested in our work and somehow decided to help us. So with his help, we applied to the UNESCO Participation Fund, and we got a small funding to digitalize a cultural monument from Bosnia and Herzegovina. We selected a stečak. Stečak is a gravestone, and you can see it on the right photo. These gravestones are very common in the Balkans regions, and most of them are placed in Bosnia and Herzegovina. They date from medieval period, and they were used to bury people underneath, and they were also beautifully hand carved with many ornaments that told the stories about the people and their lives from that period. So we selected this stečak from 14th century. It is believed that one of Bosnian kings was buried below this stečak. At the moment, it is placed in the botanical garden of the National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Professor Chalmers and his University of Bristol in the United Kingdom have provided us the equipment. So we created a digital model of the stečak. We used laser scanning technique, and we used Minolta 910 laser scanner, which at that time was really cutting edge technology. to create this model. So you see that we created quite a detailed model of the Stečak, and also we repaired one corner in the 3D software that was damaged during the years. This was the example to our cultural heritage professionals how digital preservation and the presentation of a cultural monument can be done. And actually it was the first digitalization project of cultural heritage in Bosnia and Herzegovina. In the years to come, we had many students and small projects because we were quite unknown, so it was very difficult to get the funding. But fortunately, we had and have many students, and I decided to engage students for their lab projects in digitalizing cultural heritage. They were very happy about that because in a way it meant that their work in the lab also was preserved later and served some higher purpose. So we started with Virtual National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina, then we created Virtual Sarajevo in 2007, then we reconstructed Isa Bey Endowment in Sarajevo in 2008. Then we created with the Museum of Sarajevo a digital exhibition of PH traditional objects. Then we reconstructed the Church of the Holy Trinity in Mostar that was destroyed during the war. Also, we preserved the present conditions of the Saborna Church in Sarajevo. These are Orthodox churches and they are very beautiful. And the second church was under reconstruction, so we preserved the state before the reconstruction. Then we also created a digital catalog of these Stečak monuments in 2009. We digitalized the selected objects from the exhibition of the Sarajevo assassination. As you know, the assassination in Sarajevo in 1914 was an event that preceded the First World War, and there is a museum in the assassination place. Then we created in 2010 the digital exhibition of the objects that citizens of Sarajevo used during the siege in order to survive the lack of water and electricity and everything that we survived. Then in 2011, we created the Virtual Museum of Bošnjak Institute, which is an institute with a very precious collection of artworks. And in 2013, we first time in Bosnia and Herzegovina used technology called augmented reality that is being popular only in the last few years. And already in 2013, we created a pilot project with that technology. All of these projects have brought us some references because we published what we did in these projects, and we were invited as a partner in the Virtual Museum Transnational Network in 2011. That was a network of excellence, and it had 18 partners from 13 countries. And we also presented a workshop at the Virtual Archaeology Conference in 2012, invited by Daria. And we presented to the Russian audience the work from the project of Virtual Museum Transnational Network. We were involved in several cost actions, and in 2016, we were invited as a partner in a Horizon 2020 project, Aymara Culture. We also presented something from that project in 2018, again in virtual archaeology. And then presently, we are involved in a Creative Europe project, Real Heroes, and the IPA cross-border project, I'm using museums. So Virtual Museum Transnational Network was about synthesis of knowledge about virtual museums, and it ended with a very special exhibition, international exhibition of Roman culture, held in 2014 in four cities, in Rome, Amsterdam, Alexandria, and Sarajevo. The exhibition has been opened at the same time in 4 museums that landed their exhibits to be digitalized, and we created some digital applications that connected all the collections from these 4 museums, because all of these cities were used to be parts of the Roman Empire. It was a very interesting application, and it showed to the people how it is possible to connect the exhibitions using digital technologies. On the right photo, you can see a picture from our exhibition in the City Hall of Sarajevo. There was a natural interaction application where a person in front of the Kinect sensor was moving their hands, and the computer would recognize the movement and make the movement in the virtual environment. In 2016, as I said, we got the membership, a partnership in the Horizon 2020 project Time Mare Culture. This project was dedicated to the underwater cultural heritage, because underwater cultural heritage is the most not accessible cultural heritage, as in order to see the heritage site, you need to dive, to be a diver, and of course not all divers are allowed to visit the archaeological sites. Only underwater archaeologists can do that. So we were engaged in a consortium of 11 partners, and our task was interactive digital storytelling. In all these projects, we have been developing methods to present information in an amusing and educational way. And facing the lack of reading by people and the general lack of time and short attention span of internet users, we concluded that actually in order to present any educational information to the people, we need to divide it in short stories and to present it in a structured way. So the first story would motivate the user to see the second story and so on. We were in charge of some storytelling deliverables, and one of them was the pilot deliverable. After that, we made the pilot deliverable was about recreating the Kyrenia ship, which is one of the oldest shipwrecks in history. The ship sunk close to the Kyrenia village in Cyprus, and in 286 BC, and that ship was dived out, and its remains are in a museum in Cyprus. There are many replicas of this ship, but the story about it is not so well known. So in our application, we presented that story. Then we created the seafaring game, which is a game about a captain who is driving his ship in antique classical period, sailing through Mediterranean and trading with traders in various villages in order to increase his richness. Then we created dry visits applications and underwater excavation game. I will play you a short video to see a mix of all these deliverables that we created, and you will see also the various technologies that we used in order to create these deliverables. Okay, so this was a show reel of Aymara culture. Yesterday we mentioned in our presentation about VR video, the Mostar Cliff Diving Project. I will just briefly repeat that we recreated a 300 years old tradition of jumping from the old bridge in Mostar. Old Bridge in Mostar is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you can see it in these photos. It's very high, and the tradition of jumping from the bridge is very old, almost as old as the bridge. The bridge also has an interesting story because it was destroyed during the war and rebuilt in 2004. So we created an application that actually presented first the history of the bridge. This was this interactive storytelling methodology. So we created several stories, short stories in 360 video about the history of the bridge, its architecture, its destruction and reconstruction. And we also created an interview with the champion of bridge diving, Lawrence Listo, who won the championship 13 times. And he told us an interesting story about the history of championship and about his engagement there. After the user listens and watches all the stories, then he has to pass a quiz. And if he passes a quiz, then he can jump virtually from the bridge. Everybody who visited this bridge wanted to jump, but of course it's very dangerous and not everybody can do it. But this virtual jump is really very realistic, and this application is very popular because everybody wants to jump from the bridge. And so this application is also free for download, so you can download it from our website. And if you have a headset or even on the desktop computer, you can try and jump from the bridge. Another project that will be mentioned today in more details by our actress Selma Al-Spahic, we have a presentation today in the afternoon session, this project is created together with another 3 countries. So Bosnia, Albania, Serbia, and Montenegro have been involved in this project because all of the Balkans region was once upon a time part of the Roman Empire. So we decided to recreate this Roman heritage as a common heritage of all of us. And we selected several locations in all countries. We actually selected 2 locations from Bosnia, 2 from Serbia, 2 from Montenegro, and 2 from Albania. And we visited those locations, recorded 360 videos of the archaeological remains there. And then we recreated some of those sites in 3D and added the actress to tell the stories about these sites and to drive us to the time travel. The actress played several characters in the costumes of the Roman period, and she told interesting stories about temples, about terme, about amphitheaters and various buildings that have been found in these sites. Another project that is interesting and that actually is our first serious use of augmented reality is Sarajevo 5D project. We finished it in 2020, and we decided to show to our authorities how a city guide can be done in augmented reality. Augmented reality is technology that superimposes computer-generated content over the image of your mobile device camera. The advantage of this technology upon virtual reality that can be watched only on virtual reality headsets is that everybody can afford a mobile device, and headsets are still quite expensive and they cannot be afforded by everybody. So we decided to select several objects in Sarajevo that don't exist anymore or are in very poor state because they are old and kind of in decay. And we created an application that has a map, printed map. Upon that map, you put your mobile device and on your screen appears the object that used to be there. So the map is guiding you from one location to another, and then you can see the object that is presently there, and on your phone you can see the object that was there in the past. I will now show you the trailer of this project, and you will see how it looks like. So this project was supported by the tourist community of Sarajevo, and it was we hoped it would be a pilot project that would actually make the community to invest in more of these projects, and we hope that we will get funding to create more objects and to reconstruct them in this way, because the tourists and also the citizens of Sarajevo are very happy about this application. Another application that has been completed recently is the Old Crafts Virtual Museum. It was also briefly mentioned in the presentation that we had yesterday. It is about old crafts that used to exist in the old town Sarajevo called Baščaršija. And at that time, when Sarajevo was established in the Ottoman period, it was the biggest city in Bosnia and Herzegovina, actually in Bosnian province of the Ottoman Empire. It was in 15th century, and they started to establish the city market with various crafts. So at some point in the history, we had over 80 crafts in this place, but unfortunately today many of them are extinct and they do not exist anymore. The goal of this project was to draw attention to these crafts and help their preservation, because for the craftsmen, unfortunately, it doesn't pay off anymore to keep these shops open, and the craft that used to be inherited from one generation to another is now disappearing. So together with the Museum of Sarajevo, we selected 3 crafts where only the last craftsmen are now existing and that there is nobody to inherit their craft. We selected the brush maker, the maker of a drink called boza, and the tailor decorator who used to create decorations for the clothes. We engaged in this project a famous actor, Adnan Haskovic, who was playing, he's a Bosnian actor, but he was playing in Hollywood movies and he still is playing. So he's really a celebrity in our country. And the music for this project was created by a rock star, Emir Bukovca, who is also very famous. We put the actor in the middle of the illustration that you can see on the left picture. And that illustration was created also by a famous Bosnian artist and illustrator, Emir Durmišević, who recreated the appearance of the old town Sarajevo in the drawing. This drawing is 360, so this application is in virtual reality. So when you put on the headset, you find yourself in the middle of this drawing with the actor that is playing the roles of 3 craftsmen. He wears different costume for every role, and he also narrates some kind of poem about every craft. Behind him is the craftsman shop where you can virtually enter. So when you click on the entrance, you are placed in the 360 video of the shop, and you can see the craftsman, the real craftsman, telling you the story about his craft and also presenting you the work process of making a brush, of making boza, and of decorating the clothes. What is also interesting about this project is that this is the first virtual that we created from this project, the first virtual reality music video in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because Emir Bukovica, the rock star, composed and performed the song, author song that has the music from the project. So in a way, we created a great PR to the project because he is a quite popular musician and his song is connected forever with the project. So we decided to create a 360 music video for the song, and the screenshot from that video you can see on the right photo. Now I will show you the trailer and you can see the atmosphere of this project as well.
Putujemo slovima kroz vrijeme, otkrivamo breme znanja i uzdanja. U popisu iz 1530. godine u Sarajevu je zabilježeno 40 zanata. Sa nama su sarači, kožari, naubati, bravari, kujundžije, puškari, tabaci, čizmari, čebedžije, papučari, aščije, nalčadžije, bazerđani, arakijadžije, sagrakčije, kazandžije, kalajđije, mumđije, čurčije, kapari, tapčije, tesari, Ko bi rekao da će svilene niti kazazije prestati kititi haljine, jastuke, tkanine, pa i zlatne jazije. A u davninama sve odšarenila vrilo, dok se koncima, srmama i plemenitim nitima pisalo, slikalo i šilo.
You could have seen that in this project we also had streets of Baščaršija with hotspots which would mark several crafts that existed there. So the names of these crafts are also quite disappearing, and we don't know anymore what these words mean. So the viewers have the opportunity to click on the label and see the explanation what actually that particular craftsman was doing. And that's very important because it also teaches the young generations about these words that are disappearing from our language. The next project that will be maybe interesting for your audience is about the Soviet Union. Because in this cost action NEP for Dissent, we have been collaborating with various anthropologists and historians who are dealing with dissent with the communist regimes during the Cold War. So there is a group in Ireland in University College Cork that is researching archives of Soviet secret police and the oppression that was done at that time upon Orthodox believers. The project is called Hidden Galleries, and they created an exhibition of those documents that are telling the stories about people who were prosecuted or in a way tortured by that time authorities. And at the end of the project, they decided to digitalize that exhibition and engaged our NGO to do it. So we got the material from them and we created a digital exhibition that is done in desktop virtual reality. So you have 5 stories about various characters from that age, and they are telling what happened to them during the Soviet regime. Some of them were living in underground churches, hiding there, and then they had consequences when they were discovered. We created again 5 characters. Adnan Haskovic, the actor from the previous project, is playing again all of those characters. And we recreated also these environments according to the instructions by the historians. So you can also see the project online. We have 5 stories, and now we are engaged also to do 3 additional stories about these topics. For us, it was a very interesting experience because the stories are very emotional. So you can see by yourselves in the trailer.
I'm Simeon Bostanica, and I will lead you through paradise, from its excavation today to its construction in times past. Between these 2 points in time are the vivid lives of believers. I was a secret monk. I didn't live in a monastery, and even my family didn't know about my religious vow. I'm dressed as a monk now, but it was too dangerous for me to dress like this when we had to hide our faith. I'm Miron Kolesnik. Now, in 1998, all of 46 years later, I'm writing to the Ukrainian Security Service, requesting them to rehabilitate my family. My father Pamphil, my mother Maria, my brother Ivan. I'm Vasile Donika from the Chisinau region in Moldova. In these photographs that you will see, I'm me, and I'm not me. I'm an actor impersonating myself, because that is what the Soviet secret police made me do. They broke me. They tortured me. And then they resorted to tricks, promised me freedom, and that I would return to my family. That is how they broke my faith in God, my commitment to spreading the truth of the Bible. I'm Bohdan Terletsky, an informer for the Soviet secret police.
So as you could have seen, the exhibition is a combination of storytelling by the actor and the digital exhibits. When you click on the artifacts that are marked by the green-blue frame, you can open the documents and see the pictures that were placed in the actual physical exhibition. Another project that I want to emphasize here is the Battle of Neretva virtual reality project that recreated one of the most important battles of Second World War, which happened in a place called Jablanca in Bosnia and Herzegovina. There is a museum of that battle in the city Jablanca, and that museum contains many materials, photographs and stories related to the battle. And the side of the museum, there is a bridge that partisans destroyed during that battle in order to somehow deceive the Germans and to save their wounded people, because a hospital with wounded people was in the German siege. So this battle was very important. All of us as children went to this museum to see these artifacts, and the museum is a part of this cross-border IPA project between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro, where the building and the content of that museum should be improved, and also added digital content. So we created a virtual reality application as a combination of 360 video with actors and the gameplay. And using this application, the user can actually become a participant in the battle. He's collaborating with the commander, who is this guy with mustache here, and the commander is giving him tasks to destroy the bridge, to shoot the enemy planes, and to transfer the wounded comrade through the across of the river and save him. At the end, when the mission is accomplished successfully, the user can meet Comrade Tito, our president and commander at that time during the Second World War. So now I will show you and this is our first application where actually we have a real gameplay where the user has some lives, he can also die, and he has 3 lives. So this is a way how to make this topic even more attractive for the visitors of the museum. Now you will see the trailer.
Bitka na Neretvi, ili još poznatija kao bitka za ranjenike, je zajednički naziv za seriju bitaka u dolini rijeke Neretve u periodu od februara do marta 1943. godine između partizanskih jedinica i sila osovine. Jugoslovenska historija tu bitku naziva 4. kvislinško-okupatorska ofanziva, a neprijatelj je izvodio pod nazivom Operacija Weiss. Tvoj zadatak je da razvučeš kabel od detonatora do sigurnog zaklona i čekaš moj znak za dizanje mosta u zrak. Improvizovani most će uskoro da bude napravljen, međutim Nemci su počeli da sumnjaju da nešto nije u redu. U tu svrhu imam novi zadatak za tebe. Bravo! Oborio si 3. avion! Okret! Prelazimo Neretvu! Preko vode do slobode!
Dobili smo bitku i spasili ranjenike. Naš cilj je ostvaren. Čestitam!
So this application is now put in the physical exhibition of the museum, and the visitors can see, and the curators say that it is very popular, and it actually attracts the visitors to the museum. Another application that we created within this project is an application called Crvena stijena, or Red Rock, And this application was created for the museum in Nikšić in Montenegro. This museum is researching the archaeological site called Crvena stijena that dates from very, very old times in history, from Paleolithical period. And it was one of the most important excavations from that period in Europe. This excavation is placed in a rock, in a kind of half cave. And actually, when you go there and visit, you cannot, if you are not an archaeologist, you cannot see anything particular, because most of the artifacts that were found there are now in the museum. So it looks just like a cave. But actually, with this application, the story about this site is recreated. We have again a virtual guide. It's a girl that plays an archaeologist. It's a kind of Lara Croft character. And she is telling the stories about the importance of this site, about the artifacts that have been found, and how it was going on in the history. Then the artifacts are also recreated because fragments of various tools have been found there, of pottery and so on. So we recreated in 3D these artifacts, and the user can actually turn them around and see what they were parts of. And that's also a very interesting experience for the users, because usually when you visit a museum, you are not allowed to touch the artifacts. Again, after you watch all of these stories and see the artifacts, you can pass the test. And if you learned enough, we take you to the hunting of deer that the people in that historical period used to do below the cave at the coast of a lake. So you are virtually hunting the deer, and you have two other hunters to help you, and you are using the spear that was found in the cave. Now I will show you again the trailer so you can see how it looked like.
Znate li ko je prvi živio u Crvenoj stijeni? Neandertalci. To je bio tačan odgovor.
So this application is now being placed in the museum, and it will be also placed in some other museums in Montenegro. We hope to continue the collaboration with these museums, because the museum professionals are very excited about these exhibitions, and they believe they are very useful for their visitors. The VR movies that we created were briefly mentioned yesterday as well, and now I will repeat that we in 2019 created the first Bosnian virtual reality movie. It was about the dissident writers that were persecuted in socialist Yugoslavia. And actually it's a satirical story, 12 minutes long, about the solicitor of history, which is maintaining this persecution, and the solicitor of revision, who is trying to rehabilitate the writers and put them back in the history books, because we have never learned anything about these writers, as they were banned from public during the communist regime. It is a very interesting movie because the camera is placed in the middle of the scene, and you can watch it with a headset. You can also watch it on YouTube. I will just briefly show you how it looks like on YouTube, and you can also go to the link and see it. I will just...
Mir, molim za mir u sudu. Pozivam advokata revizije da podnese ekspoze.
politički komad. Osuđen je na 5 godina zatvora, a odležao 20 godina zatvora jer nije trpio nepravdu. To su bošnjački pisci koji su stradavali i hapšeni nakon Drugog svjetskog rata.
As you could have seen, I'm actually moving inside the video, and that's the advantage of the 360 video, because you really, if you have a headset, you really feel immersed in the story as it is happening all around you. And the second VR movie we played a bit yesterday, it is about the first dissident from Bosnia and Herzegovina. He was a poet from Ottoman period, and he was executed because he wrote a poem against the Ottoman regime. The plot is making a parallel between him and another dissident from the socialist period who was also persecuted, and he was writing about this Ottoman period dissident. In this movie, we have 2 actors playing 4 roles, and all the plot is recorded in the fortress in Travnik, where actually this poet from the Ottoman period was executed. There are many challenges of VR filming, as we explained yesterday, but every new film or new application is a ground for future research, because we correct some drawbacks that the users have noticed, and we try some new methodology to improve the storytelling. To conclude, we believe that IT technologies are a very powerful tool to present and preserve cultural heritage. When the users hear digital stories, they feel like they are traveling through the time into the past, and they can really experience the history. We can bring back the objects that do not exist anymore and bring them back to collective memory of people. VR video also has a great potential combined with these 3D technologies, and we are more and more researching with people from humanities field, because there is a huge field called digital humanities, where the computer scientists are using their tools in order to help the people from humanistic sciences to recreate their topics in digital technologies. The link to our laboratory is presented here on this slide, and you can check the projects. All of the projects are online and free for download, and I thank you for your attention.
Большое спасибо, Сельма. Было невероятно интересно, разнообразно. Я думаю, что все под впечатлением. Вопросы, дорогие мои, пожалуйста, есть микрофончик, подходите, не стесняйтесь, задавайте. Ну, наверняка какие-то впечатления у вас появились. Поделитесь. Подойдите, пожалуйста, нажмите кнопочку, чтобы ваш вопрос услышали переводчики. Да, вот микрофоны. Правую. И вы говорите.
Здравствуйте, я вот очень понравилось ваше выступление, спасибо большое. Я хотел спросить, сколько по времени в среднем занимает один такой проект, и какая у вас команда, или сколько нужно человек для выполнения этого проекта? Спасибо.
Thank you very much for your appreciation and your question. As all of us are having some other full-time jobs, we are not engaged in the projects full-time. So approximately for an application, for example, as a Battle of Neretva, we need about 6 months. And we have up to 20 people involved, because we have the full film crew with the set designer, makeup artist, editor, sound post-production, plus the historians, plus the people from the museum, and us, the programmers who create the full application. So the team can be up to, let's say, 20 people, but some of the projects are done also by, let's say, 5 people altogether.
Тут больше смельчаков не нашлось. Тогда вопрос у меня, даже 2 вопроса. Один вопрос маленький. Что срабатывает в качестве AR-маркера, маркера дополненной реальности, на туристической карте Сараева?
Well, I have to say that touristic community of Sarajevo is not a very good organization because they have a leadership that is put by politics. So they change directors all the time, and that's why to work with them is very difficult. But the professionals from that field are very impressed by augmented reality, and they understand that this technology has a huge potential. So we believe that actually in the public, we promoted that technology, and that there will be more and more requests to do such applications for our tourists, because now you can see that many applications that are freely available, such for example, navigation applications or even Google Maps, have more and more of augmented reality involved. So I believe that this is a technology of the future, and that it will become something very common in the next few years. And of course, we will have possibilities to use that technology more in our projects.
Сельма, вопрос был в другом. Это технический вопрос. В качестве маркера, вызывающего 3D-изображение, срабатывает надпись, когда человек приходит на место и смотрит и на карте, наводит телефон.
Yes. Yes, there are several methodologies for augmented reality. You can use a map or a kind of paper where there is a tracker image that is used as a symbol for the application. You can also use some feature in the physical world. For example, if you point your phone on some door and there is a particular sign on the door, you can activate your augmented reality application through that. And the third way is to activate it on the geolocation. So if you position yourself in certain coordinates as geolocation, the content is activated. We are mainly use these trackers on the map because they are the most practical. When you have the brochure with you that also contains the QR code for downloading the application, and then you open the brochure and you can see the map where you track the images. I will talk about that more tomorrow in the workshop, in the masterclass. So if the students are interested, they can attend and they will see more details about that.
Спасибо. И я не унимаюсь с вопросами, они у меня всегда в большом количестве. Как проводится опрос мнения туристов? Было сказано, что туристам очень нравится. Вот как это определено? Это было анкетирование или по загрузке приложений? Как это выяснено, что им очень нравится?
The idea is that to put these brochures in the tourist info offices that are all around the city, and also the application is online. So it's freely accessible by search, and it's also the link is on some tourist websites. We create always the user experience survey for all of our applications, where we select groups of very different users by age, by computer literacy, and so on. And then we statistically analyze this data, the feedback, and create our results. So that's how we actually create surveys. Also in the museums, we leave the questionnaires for the visitors that they can fill out, and that way we collect the feedback on the applications. And I can say that we are really happy about the feedback, and the users always point out some very interesting things that we didn't, as authors, didn't notice, so we can correct them in the next versions.
Больше вопросы не появились? Еще какие-нибудь? Большое спасибо, Сельма. Я надеюсь, что лекция была очень полезная, судя по тому, что количество в аудитории все растет и растет, и в Zoom мы тоже смотрим, что число присутствующих растет, так что можно сказать, что она была невероятно успешной.
Thank you very
Спасибо.
much for inviting me.
Спасибо.
Thank
И
you.
тогда мы будем переходить к следующим нашим. Вторая прислана ссылка, переподключаемся у нас другой Zoom на второй мастер-класс. На Леонида Сефовича Бородкина. Вы переподключайтесь, рассылка была, проверяйте.